transport, fishing, and many recreational activities is already a very active space. However, the growing interest in ocean-based renewable energy, marine cultural preservation, and aquaculture will make it even busier. Marine spatial planning aims to balance all of these various uses. In the middle of all of these activities, it is also necessary to protect marine heritage and include some areas for nature as well. Hence, we need marine protected areas, commonly referred to as MPAs. MPAs serve to protect the various essentials of all marine life, protecting a portion of each different type of habitat from the shoreline to the deep sea ocean, gives each species at every level of the food chain a safe place to live and grow. These areas form a network of ecosystems that act as an insurance policy, supporting biodiversity and providing flexibility to adapt to different conditions. These principles and the science behind them were endorsed at the recent United Nations Conference of Parties on the Convention of Biodiversity, where 190 countries pledged to work towards protecting 30% of all marine and terrestrial habitats worldwide. While this target may be high for a small area used as intensely as Bermuda's marine space, following best practice as best as possible is what is the best approach and is most important. MPAs also protect areas that various species depend on to complete certain life cycle stages, often referred to as essential fish habitat. We have seen in Bermuda how prohibiting fishing at the red hind and black rockfish spawning grounds gradually allowed the populations of these species to recover over time. At the moment, though, there are no specific regulations to protect the habitat of these sites to ensure that they can fulfill an essential function. On the other hand, living mangroves, seagrasses, and inshore corals that form important nursery habitats have some legal protections, but there is no broader protection for any particular areas. For any of these areas to effectively fulfill their potential, excluding all activities that would damage the habitat or remove any marine life is essential. Over time, as the number of fish and other marine life increase inside the MPAs, they will contribute to populations outside of the MPA borders. Firstly, because they will be more individual spawning, but also more directly through the outwards migration of the adults who mature within the marine protected areas. In this way, MPAs can replenish fish populations and thus contributing to the increase of catches. Some recent examples of this effect include with the spotty lobsters in California and the yellowfish tuna of Hawaii. MPAs are also used to protect marine heritage assets, such as shipwrecks. Bermuda has a unique area of shipwrecks that span the very history of all navigation in the Atlantic. It is not only a Bermuda cultural treasure, it is a global cultural treasure. We must protect this at the highest level. Measures designed to protect natural habitats and the associated marine life also serve to preserve historical artifacts. Indeed, many of Bermuda's existing MPAs are actually centered around shipwrecks. Unfortunately, although there are many reasons to establish a network of MPAs, the debate is often limited to fisheries and how the creation of MPAs can help or harm various fishing activities. Commercial fishermen, in particular, often question why they must bear the cost of being unable to fish in a particular area, and if that cost outweighs the potential benefit of the MPAs. Fisheries data are a useful indication of the status of fish populations. Still, independent surveys provide a broader perspective on a more comprehensive range of species and may highlight important areas more precisely than catch reports. These two approaches complement each other. Therefore, both types of data are used to help develop the current data for the Marine Spatial Plan in Bermuda. The graph of which you see on the screen shows reported commercial fisheries catches since 1975 and highlights how the use of fish pots combined with an increased demand from our booming tourist industry led to overfishing during the 1970s and 80s and subsequent changes in the commercial fishery. The thickness of each colored band reflects the total weight of each species or group of species caught in and given in any given year. The graph shows the decline of groupers, followed by the rise and fall of various reef fish species in the catch, and then a transition to the current scenario where pelagic fish actually, particularly tuna and wahoo, make up roughly half of the catch weight. Today, populations of many reef fish species are in a better position and state than they were when the fish pots were banned in 1990. Catches of key species such as black grouper, red hine, and shallow water snappers appear to be relatively stable over the past 10 to 15 years, which implies a sustainable level of catch. However, the amount of fish caught is still lower than in the past, and these species are rarely seen during independent surveys, suggesting that their number is still in need of improvement and attention. Independent surveys also show that some iconic species, like the Nassau grouper, are still showing no signs of recovery, despite a total ban on fishing for them that has been in place for the past 30 years. The species that are recovering are those whose spawning grounds were protected, have flexible nursery habitat requirements, and have also been managed through fisheries regulations such as daily catch limits and minimum size restrictions. The good news is that the recovery of these fish populations will further be assisted as the broader ecosystem and prey fish populations and the base of the food chain caught in large numbers during the 1980s continue to recover. Establishing MPAs will actually help in this process. The current draft spatial plan has focused on including essential fish habitats, like nursery habitats and spawning sites in the areas proposed as fully protected MPAs. The approach can further boost the recovery of these species and may help other species recover. 9 out of 10 areas for full protection include essential fish habitats. The 3 highly affected areas cover the lobster reservoir and the 2 sizable seasonal closure areas, high grounds, will continue to allow fishing within the bounds of what are the current regulations. Additionally, they will prohibit certain activities, such as development, that could damage essential habitats. While MPAs do much to protect ocean resources, they are not a silver bullet. I'll repeat that. While MPAs do much to protect our ocean resources, they are not a silver bullet, and we have not been suggesting that they are. And we must still proactively manage the fish outside of these areas. With that in mind, the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program, BOP, has a dedicated sustainable fisheries work stream that works to ensure collection of additional data to help enhance our current fisheries management. The red hind tagging study conducted last summer is one example, and we now have a better understanding of the status of this species. It is also important to note that the draft spatial plan also includes non-spatial objectives, which address many of what the fishers and the conservationists have raised in our dialogues with them and the concerns that they have. Chief among them is to require proper environmental impact assessments for any development, as well as improving monitoring and enforcement. Other goals focus on reducing marine pollution, restoring lost and damaged habitats. While it is widely understood that MPAs can only reach their potential with these supportive measures, it is not necessary to wait to see these measures in place before establishing a proper network of MPAs. As the various components of the Marine Spatial Plan can be implemented together, not just wait for them to be implemented one after one. In conclusion, while we are looking to expand the blue economy opportunities in marine tourism, marine cultural heritage, ocean-based renewable energy, and offshore fishing, with a goal to create jobs for the benefit of all of Bermuda, placing additional demands on our marine environment without an insurance policy, without protections, without the use and a policy around MPAs, is seen to be extremely unwise and not the best way to go for it. And so, if we don't act now, we could find ourselves with less in the future. So the time is now. It's our ocean. This is our future. This is our time to decide what we intend to do. Thank you. And I'll answer any questions that anyone has at this time.
Thank you, Minister. Gary Costa-Stelton with News Broadcasting. I have the draft, the document showing some of the feedback and voting results from when the proposed marine protected areas were being drafted in late 2021 and early 2022. It shows that the Commercial Fisheries Council did not complete the survey on the 7 different proposed scenarios for MPAs 3 offshore, 4 and nearshore. The document states the CFC felt no scenario was a viable option for their stakeholders. One of the proposals, fishermen proposed for offshore, the outer ring, discussed before. I have been led to understand that proposal actually doesn't meet the objective of the MPA plan and discussion. And this was criteria that the fishermen had agreed to, the objectives of the Marine Spatial Plan. Can any of the scientific staff here explain how those proposals that the fishermen were making didn't meet the criteria?
Tony, you want to take it?
Yes, so as the plan was being developed, the different stakeholder groups were asked to say what they wanted to see from the plan. And so different objectives were developed and put forward. And for the outer ring, one of the objectives was to protect 40% of the seamounts in the outer EEZ. And so that ring that was proposed around, the outside of the EEZ did not meet that specific objective. And there maybe others, but that's the one that comes to mind at the moment.
And the fishermen had they agreed to these objectives at the beginning?
They were all the objectives were presented to the steering committee, and it's the steering committee who agreed the suite of objectives. So the fishermen may not have specifically agreed to that specific objective. I I don't know that at the moment, from memory. That was one of the objectives that was agreed by the full steering committee.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can I just add, I think it needs to be impressed that the steering committee had substantial representation of the fishing community on it.
Yeah.
There were about, I think if you count, there were about 18 or so members. The fishermen are the only group that have more than one representative. They had at least 2 representatives on that committee, while everybody else had about 1. So they had a proportionately more representation than everyone else on that group of 18. They had at least 2. And so they had, and as Dr. Warren has said, the objectives were agreed by the committee. And I can tell you at no time did I hear that those objectives were objected to by the representatives of the fishermen committee. So I think it's important to know that at least from the start, there was agreement as to how things should move by the fishing representatives, who had a proportionally larger representation on there than any other group, to those objectives of which you referred to.
Thank you, Minister, if I may. We understand that you have just responded yesterday evening to the Fishermen's Association letter of December 21st. They had requested to meet with you and possibly Cabinet to discuss revising methodology used to decide the Bob and Marine Spatial Plan, as well as having what they feel would be proportionate representation in the planning. Your response yesterday indicated that you want fishermen to present their opinions within the Bob consultation process, not in an individual meeting, that you regard the Bob process as providing fishermen adequate representation. You have indicated that your door is always open, so will you or will you not meet with the representatives of the Fishermen's Association outside of the confines of the Bob consultation process?
I think I made it clear at the last press conference that the door is open to the process, not necessarily myself individually. I know what they've requested, but I think it's important that they engage in the process. The process is available to everyone. At this point, giving them this particular one group an exclusive audience with me, I think betrays the participation and willingness and compliance of everybody else who has abided by the guidance, who has agreed with the objectives and have given substantive contribution to the process, not only at the steering committee level, but also in the wider process, which is what I am very supportive of, for every interested person, including every fisherman in the island, every individual in the country who actually wants to contribute feedback to this process can participate. There is no exclusivity for anyone in it. So if they have the opportunity to have an unimpeded, transparent opportunity to actually shape this plan, I think they should take that first and foremost. Then I give them exclusive audience at this point over everybody else. I do think that that's more important to the integrity of the process that's been set up, to a process that their representatives and leadership agreed to be a part of from the very beginning. And also, Mr. Skelton, I think we're kind of in a contradictory position where they have officially withdrawn, but then they want to talk to me. But the process is...
They've made it clear that the fishermen, or at least the fishermen represented by the Fishermen's Association, have made it clear that they don't seem to entirely trust the Bob process. So my question, if they don't want to make...
May I finish my answer to your first question?
Sorry?
May I finish my answer to your first question? In that, I think it's important for the integrity of the process that many persons have already engaged in, and Dr. Tammy and Director Pettit can share with you how many people have already willingly engaged in this process, of which I will say again, the fishermen are welcome to continue to be a part of if they so wish. I am not responsible for the position that they have taken to not engage, while the rest of the country is interested in engaging and others have engaged in. So I think it's first and foremost that they respect the process and contribute and ensure that their ideas and their ideas and thoughts and concerns are heard by the process that is designed to actually receive them and to guarantee that they are a part of shaping the marine blue economy strategy and the marine spatial plan. That is my position. I understand that they don't trust the process, but I do. So that's a diametrically opposed position that we have, in that I don't agree with them not trusting the process. I do. And certainly hundreds of other residents have trusted the process. So I am committed to the process. And at this point, my call, as you will see in the correspondence that I sent to them, asks that they re-engage with the process so that every fisherman in the island can participate. Even if they only had a few representatives on the steering committee, every fisherman in the island can participate in this process if they re-engage. And I welcome them to do so.
Now, taking what you're saying, perhaps from your perspective, they have dug their heels in and are being unreasonable, but would it not be best to make that time for them on their terms, in deference to the fact that their lives and livelihood could be massively impacted by law and the marine spatial plan?
That is an argument that I'm sure can be taken by others who use the water and have given contribution to this plan. I would hope that if you're that concerned about your livelihood, you would actually participate in a process that could help ensure that your concerns are heard. If they want their issues and their expertise and their experience to be fully considered, they will continue to work within the process. At some future point, because Mr. Skelton, one thing I think is important to also, that this process continues. We're not finished. This is a draft plan. It is not fixed in stone. The response of those who represent the fishermen and those who have spoken so far is that this is already a done deal. And I reject that. I actually want them to engage because I'm committed to seeing this process through. If they continue to withdraw, they have no role, they have no stake, and I don't want that to be the end result of this. And fine, at some point in the future, as we go in this process, there may be an opportunity to have a dialogue of sorts. But I think by rejecting the process, unfortunately, and you were at Spanish Point, and I don't want the fishermen to be the focus of this press conference, Mr. Skelton, but I think we know that a lot of things were said at that press conference that sought to undermine the expertise and integrity of many of the people that I work with. And I just cannot actually stand here and allow that to still be the case and believe that I can have an open, honest meeting with them. I'm sorry. I would like to have an opportunity to do that. But I think further on in this process, with their engagement in it, we can perhaps see a door to having an opportunity to have a discussion. But a lot of things have been said, and you've seen the written documents because they're all public as to what the fisherman's position is. Everything from, unfortunately, that the MOU was signed in the darkness of night, which is false. But there are things that have been said which actually I think the public needs to know are not true. But at the same time, Mr. Skelton, the best way, I will repeat it, for the fishermen and any other stakeholder, because this is not about fishing, and I'll repeat it, it is not just about fishing. It's about renewable energy, it's about aquaculture, it's about so many things. And I want the fishermen and other stakeholders' advice, feedback to be a part of how we shape this in the interest of all those activities that are going to be a part of the Blue Economy Plan at some point when it's finalized.
Now, Minister, you did make some reference to the fish pot plan of the early 90s. With those references and the fact that it seemed as successful in helping certain fish stocks to repopulate, I'm sure at the time there was some rejection. There was some people saying this is going to affect our livelihood and sort of things like that. But making reference to that, could that be seen as a tacit admission that this may impact the livelihoods of fishing?
I don't think so from that standpoint, but change always has impact on certain things that happen. I cannot speak for what happened in 1990. I was not there, and neither can you, I don't think. I think we're just dealing with a reference. But that's a historical fact, what happened then. It was done for a particular decision. We know what the response was to that, but we are here now, decades later, and we can assess what the results were of it. And the study, the objective review of it, appears to be that the actions taken then did ensure that we have sustainable fish, or more sustainable and available fish now. Now, that's just the history, but that's all I can refer to in it. If you want to speak to somebody who was around back then and has more knowledge of it, you're welcome to it, but I'm not one of those persons.
Fishermen will be presenting a petition to the Premier and Cabinet tomorrow, more than 4,000 signatures supporting their goal to pause and a just vote to be more representative. How are you going to respond to that?
I will be there, and I will receive the petition with the Premier, who is the person who has been asked to receive the petition, and then we'll go from there.
And I know, Mr. Pettit, Director of the DNR, you have been holding individual meetings with some of the fishermen. Have there been more meetings since we last spoke in November, and has that resulted in adjustments to the draft spatial plan?
The answer is yes. I haven't been holding any more, but our technical officers have. Over 47 is the count to date. Still ongoing as of last week, even though the Fishermen Association have encouraged their membership not to participate. Fishermen is still participating. And so we've got 38 adjusted or new surveys, and that information from those surveys will be put into the next round of modifications to the plan. And what we're doing right now is taking all of quite a significant amount of information that we've received, and then looking at creating the next round of draft for the plan. So we are accumulating, and then that's going to start to form the next rendition. So we encourage more people to continue to give us information so that we can keep refining the draft. So please don't stop.
Would you say that this shows that's the evidence would you say that is the evidence that the bot process is the best way for fishing?
Yes, it is. Because we've got an officer who's going to people's houses, sitting down for an hour and a half, hour to 2 hours, doing an interview. He's done multiple interviews with the same fishermen. If fishermen want to talk, we want to listen. So, and we need to know why things are important to them, so that we can factor that into the plan. The plan is changing. It is a draft. It is a proposal on the table, and we need to refine it. So the process continues. And as the minister says, it's not finished. We're just on round one. Thank you.
I'd like to add a few more comments. There's an extremely dedicated group and team of Bermudians who are working in the Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Program, and they are 100% committed to seeing that in this space, in our ocean, that Bermuda sees a prosperous future. And that includes many things. It includes the expansion and growing of our fisheries from not just the inner waters, but also to the outer waters, of which there is little activity by Bermudians now. But at the same time, that area is under threat from the occasional incursion by huge overseas fishing vessels that sit on the edge of our outer waters and exploit what we are not ourselves taking advantage of now. This plan will help to support that. I look forward to a future when some of the same fishermen who are with us today are in vessels out in that outer water, benefiting from the opportunities that can be shaped through this plan, through the protections that we are looking to put in place, which are only a very small percentage of the space. 80+% of it will be available to everyone to take advantage of, and a very small percentage of the area we're looking to protect to ensure the sustainability not only of fisheries, but also the protection of our marine heritage. Let's not forget, we have hundreds of wrecks, as I have stated in my statement, that span the history of navigation. It is a wonderful cultural, unique opportunity, a non-cultural fixture of Bermuda. We must protect that. The Bermuda Ocean Prosperity Plan stands to protect that. There is aquaculture, which is a potential opportunity in our waters, which not only can help to perhaps provide a commercial endeavor for someone who wishes to take advantage of it, but actually, under the right conditions, can help to restock certain species of fish that might be able to be cultivated in an aquaculture environment. This has been done in other parts of the world. It may be able to be done here with the right application, but that takes investment, it takes expertise, and I would like to see Bermudians not only involved with that process, but also benefiting from it. There is obviously tourism, which we are looking to expand more. That vast area of ocean is an attraction, and there are more activities that can go on in it, that I believe that many Bermudians can take advantage of. And the Blue Investment Facility is designed to attract that investment that will support all these activities, including renewable energy, which there have been areas identified where we could deploy renewable energy, whether it be wind, solar, and other activities that can help to ensure we have a sustainable energy future. So when I say it's not just about fishing, it's not an insult to any particular sector. It is to say there is a vast amount of opportunity for everyone who wants to participate in this process. And lastly, I'd like to make the point that there seems to be this impression among some that the final plan, or even what we have in draft, is fixed in stone. Well, as Director Pettit and Dr. Warren have said, that's not the case. This is a draft. But even beyond that, after whatever plan is finalized, it will be revised on a regular basis. It will be subject to review. And those marine protected areas, based on the review and the examination and the studies that are done, can change based on hopefully the progress of positively impacting the ocean environment through their presence. They will change, just like in terrestrial planning, we change zonings, we change the size of certain areas based on further examination of their use and their purpose and other interests that may be involved. So all this is what is the world coming forward that I would hope that every interested stakeholder engages in, because it's an opportunity for every Bermudian to benefit. I believe this can be a win-win. And as Director Pettit says, we're only on the first phase of a multi-phase process. So to say now that this is fixed in stone or that there's imminent danger of loss now, I have to say that's not the case, because we're not finished. But we want everybody to be involved who wants to be in the process. So with that, I'm fine unless there are other questions to be asked of myself. I'm ready for them. Happy New Year.
You said that fishermen are quite a big part of this whole project, this whole future. Can you understand that by your refusal to meet them one-on-one, face-to-face, that they find that insulting and insulting way to dismiss them their concerns?
I don't agree with your supposition that my, as you say, not agreeing to meet is actually an insult. The fishermen have rejected the process. I think that's what we have to remember this started with, not my disagreement to meet. It started with them saying they do not want to participate, and then after that, they say they want to meet with me. I've been made it very clear. I think it's important, and more important for their interest, to believe in the process, to engage in the process, and as this process goes along, there may be an opportunity to meet, but to first reject the process and then say they want to meet with me, I don't think that's a good approach. Because again, as I said before, it like rejects all of the hard work that many people have done who have willingly participated in the process. So I will repeat my call to you, Mr. Conley, that the fishermen should re-engage with the process that's been set up to ensure that every one of them can have a say in the whole process of shaping this plan.
Well, it's not really my supposition. That's not the vision I feel I'm aware of that your attitude is to dismiss it and just not taking their concerns seriously.
I think that's actually a disagreement, and I can only say what you said. I have read all communications from the fishermen, and that's not what they're saying. Their position is taken seriously because I have responded to every one of their concerns when they have sent them to me. So I haven't ignored them. I just don't agree with their position on aspects of what they've said. So I've responded to them. I have heard them. I understand their concerns, but I don't have to necessarily agree with what they're saying, because I do believe that it's important for them to engage in the process so that every concern that they have, Mr. Conley, can actually be given a proper airing and be considered as part of the plan. I don't draw up this plan exclusively. I'm not even involved with the particular drawing up with, but I would repeat, the people who are involved with shaping it and who have been tasked with shaping it, the fishermen can deal with one-on-one. Director Pettit has said that they've actually been speaking to those people. So I encourage them to continue to do that. So at the same time as you say that there is this environment, some of them are engaging in it, and I welcome their participation, and I welcome others to participate.
Do you expect that? Do you expect FAB's right not to participate in a process that has no confidence?
I respect anybody's right to choose, sir, but I don't think, as we have unfortunately heard, that they have sought to discredit the process, while others have willingly participated. So others are actually supporting the process, they're participating. If they choose not to participate, that's fine, but we have told them that what the impact of not participating can be, which is why we continue to encourage them to participate. So we respect their right, but we encourage them because we want to ensure that they are heard, that they re-engage. I am happy, as has been reported by Director Pettit, that some are talking to us because they clearly believe, Mr. Conley, contrary to perhaps the FAB, that involvement is positive. So there perhaps is a contrary position amongst the fishing community that you might want to address. But we stand with anyone who is welcome to the door of this process to participate.
You say you want to encourage them, though, you're very encouraging them be to respect them face-to-face meetings.
As you said, sir, I respect their right to choose. At some point, there may be an opportunity to have a meeting, but I think it's important that overall respect for not only the process, but also the participants in the process must be first and foremost.
When you say a meeting, that means a meeting.
That could be a meeting with any of the leaders of this process. It might be with myself in the future, but I am committed to the process and I am guided by what the process is looking to accomplish first and foremost. Having an exclusive meeting with me is not a part of the design of the process. It may come at some point, but really it is more important to the success of this process that will benefit everyone, that everyone who wants to actually have a difference in the shaping of this plan is to be involved with the plan as has been publicly articulated, whether it be fishermen, whether it be people interested in energy development, people interested in tourism, interested in cultural heritage, interested in aquaculture, or even wanting to be a scientist or marine scientist. If you want to be a part of this, the door is open.
Okay, I don't think you read the Affairs Minister we said that the proposals are now giving the fishermen choice between starting or breaking the law and actually starting.
I don't believe that's true. And I would not encourage anyone to break the law because that is not a necessary action to take.
He also points out that there's a lack of monitoring of current restrictions as well. So this is going to be a paper law.
I would ask that our technical people respond to what is actually going on around enforcement. If you have read any of the documents that we have presented publicly, we've outlined our plans around increasing enforcement, but I'll let Director Pettit or Dr. Warren speak more to that particular point about enforcement. And I think you should hear from them first before going on to your next question.
So there's a lot going on in this space. Not only do we have our new Bermuda Coast Guard, which has all the powers of a fishery inspector, which gives it a lot more capacity on the water since 2018. So we have a lot more bodies who are managing the space. We've also got ourselves, and I'll hand it up. This is the draft marine resource enforcement plan that was developed, drafted in September 2021. It had it was seen by and had the support of the Commercial Fisheries Council, the Marine Resources Board, and I will say that I have to say, Mr. Alan Bean saw it and commented on it. So this lays out a short, medium, and long-term plan for improved marine enforcement. In addition to that, we have embarked on the Blue Shield project with the UK, which again is providing a lot more technical capacity and capabilities than we had in the past, as well as the US Coast Guard. There is a lot going on in this space, not everything that we can provide at this time, but it is going on in tandem with the Ocean Prosperity Plan, the Marine Spatial Plan. So technically, I don't agree with the sentiments that I've heard, that we are not doing anything in this space. In fact, we are planning, that's why you do it in tandem. You're planning for the plan itself and how you implement it, which is why we've still got a draft plan and not a finalized plan. If we had a finalized plan, it'd be laid in stone. What we've got right now is a good draft, and we'll be adding to that with the outcomes from the UK Blue Shield project, from the outcomes from the US Coast Guard, as well as new initiatives to make sure that we can implement the plan. So, and when I mean the plan, the Marine Spatial Plan. So hopefully that gives a little bit more detail. It's not something that we have, we're saying we're not doing anything with. We literally have a document. So, okay, we have a plan.
Minister, you mentioned blue economy, right? And so this is really important for the future. What's your reaction to the survey yesterday showing 71% of people who are going about cutting back because of living costs? Is that not showing that is it doing?
I disagree, but I disagree with your concluding comment in that I believe that Minister Hayward spoke to this, that we understand that there are people who are not feeling the progress that has been made over the past year around economic recovery. There is more work to be done, but at the same time, data shows that there are areas that have improved. So there has been improvement, but we have to work on ensuring that average persons are feeling much more the progress that the whole government and others are working towards achieving. The Marine Spatial Plan is a component of the Economic Recovery Plan, and we intend to see it come to fruition so that we can create additional opportunities and grow aspects of our Bermuda economy with a blue feature, with what we're already existingly doing. So again, I appreciate that there are persons who are not yet feeling the progress that's been made, but progress has been made. And I'm committed with all of my colleagues in this government to seeing that people do get the benefit of what we are continuing to work on.
When 71% of people say that, which is a massive part of the population, surely that must be a failure of the government today or whatever you, because it's down to that government to make sure that 71% of people are in that position.
I again disagree with your supposition and your conclusion. Work is being done to improve the economic situation of our country. The data shows that. But we appreciate people aren't feeling some of that yet. And I haven't seen all of the results of the survey, so I can't speak to all of it. I'm only speaking to your comment. But I will say that the government remains committed to ensuring that our economy recovers from the recent challenges that it faces and getting more people back to work in all key sectors of the economy, but also growing new opportunities for others as well, whether it be additional jobs, whether it be additional industry opportunities, additional training, and other things that we know can help to ensure the investment that is needed, the jobs that are needed to be created, and the activity that's needed that others in the economy actually benefit. But sir, this is a actual press conference about our marine protected areas and our marine spatial plan and our blue economy. So I would ask that your questions remain in that area. If you have economic questions, you certainly, broad economic questions, you can pose them to the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Economy and Labor.
Yeah, finally on that, you say that it's not a failure. You know, like I said, you know, some people say like any government, 71% would be seen as a failure. If it's not a failure, are you saying that this is a success then?
I think I've answered the question appropriately, Mr. Conley, already.
You also mentioned this project's impact on tourism, etc. There have been some comments from the prior speech about the tourism minister being given added powers to go beyond previous remits and have greater discretion in developments. And some people are saying that's giving them too much power to help out developers to have an impact on the green economy and green tourism if that goes too far.
Your questions are specifically to the responsibility of the tourism minister. So I suggest you would save your questions for the tourism minister.
You mentioned green tourism.
Your principal part of your questions about the powers and responsibilities of the tourism minister. I suggest you put those questions to the tourism minister.
But as blue tourism, do you fear that giving that much leeway to a minister could impact on blue tourism in the direction?
I think I will repeat again, if you have a question about the responsibilities and impacts of the tourism minister within his responsibilities, you need to put that question to that minister.
Regarding blue tourism, thank you very much.
If there aren't any other questions, thank you very much, everyone, and have a very good day to those who are watching and those who are listening. Thank you. And members of the media.